This is David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, episode number 14 for August 2010.
David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, David Andrew Wiebe, and you just heard the brand new theme song for the podcast that I composed. As always, feel free to let me know what you thought of it, and we'll be letting you know how you can get in touch with us a little later on. It feels like it's been forever since the last podcast episode, which is a little strange because it was recorded in July, and of course this current episode is being recorded in late August, so I guess it's probably because there's been a lot going on this summer. One of the things being Vulcan Fest, of course, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on. I also did manage to get out to the AYF Youth Camp to help out for a week, and that was a very rewarding and cool experience. And I've also been working on some new things lately, working my tail off actually, but I'm not at liberty to disclose all those things just yet. Hopefully in future episodes I'll be letting you know kind of the nature of these projects. And I certainly hope you're all enjoying your summer. I'm going to move on to the announcements now. I've been working a lot on the podcast blog, which can be found, of course, at daw-music.com/daw-podcast. You can now take the listener survey, letting us know what you think of the podcast, and then you can also leave a donation in our tip jar. Now, we do suggest you leave $2 or more because of how PayPal operates. We won't see any amount less than $2 because of transaction fees and such. I've also started doing a little bit of blogging in between podcast episodes, so I would definitely encourage you to check that out. I also have some upcoming shows. Nothing that's set in stone, but I am scheduled to play at the House Coffee and Sanctuary this September, and it looks like the tribute band will be playing in High River as well as the Blind Beggar here in Calgary in October. It looks like there might be a bunch more bookings, so just stay tuned. So I've been playing with the format of this show a lot. I think we're going to be settling into a little bit more of a regular format in the upcoming episodes, but today I'll be talking a little bit about Vulcan Fest. So this month's show, again, is kind of going to be a little bit different, and until I'm completely settled in, that may continue to be the case. I haven't been able to get a hold of Keith, which is too bad because it would have been great to have him weigh in on Vulcan Fest as well, but I'll see if I can get him in maybe on the September podcast. So the first thing I want to talk about is the bands at the festival. I can't remember all of them offhand, but I'll maybe mention a few that caught my attention. One of them was Deluge, which was really interesting. They were kind of the type of band that openly admitted on stage that they weren't any good, except they had a lot of charisma, so they really kind of sold the show, and I think it was really one of the first bands that really kind of started to draw a crowd in front of the stage. Up until that point, there weren't many people, up and dancing or doing much in front of the stage, so that was one of the first bands kind of during the day to accomplish that feat. Telly played a lot later on in the night, basically one of the final closing headline acts of the night, and man, I always enjoy those guys. Definitely kind of that old school rock and roll kind of music. Black Phoenix Orchestra was playing that night as well, but I kind of fell asleep. It got really cold outside, and it was getting to be kind of 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. I think I had only gotten 2 or 3 hours of sleep the night before, so I went to sleep in Keith's car, and I didn't catch all of their set, unfortunately, but I guess if I had to describe it, it's kind of progressive 60s psychedelia. Flowshine played earlier in the day, and they were really good as well. I actually really enjoyed their set. And that's about all I can remember offhand, but like I said, hopefully we can bring in Keith to talk a little bit more about that as well. The fans at the festival definitely, I think they enjoyed the music, but for the most part, very laid back and just kind of enjoying the nice weather. It was really hot and sunny. Keith and I were actually out there all day, both of us taking photos. I don't know if I was taking photos quite as much as Keith was, but I still took a lot of photos, and you can certainly see some of those on my Flickr account. If you go to the podcast blog, of course, you can see some of those. But so being out in the sun all day, I think Keith and I arrived about 10:30 or 11. So we got burned a lot. And, you know, despite applying and reapplying sunscreen, it just got really hot, and we got burned pretty badly. So we were pretty red at the end of the festival. But nevertheless, an enjoyable experience, and I'm sure there were a few other people that got burned while they were out in the sun as well. So the whole atmosphere of the festival, like I said, is kind of laid back. I think as we got closer to the evening, later in the night, with the headline acts and everything, there were more people getting up and dancing and moving around and enjoying themselves, which is good. I don't know exactly how many people were there. I think maybe somewhere between 100 and 200 people were there. And it's kind of hard to tell as far as numbers are concerned, because there were some people sitting by the stage or close to the stage, but that wasn't the majority. There were still people out in tents. There were people out throwing a frisbee or kicking a soccer ball or chatting by their cars, or, you know, doing some such thing. So it's hard to get exact numbers, but yeah, I think it's fair to say somewhere in the range of 100 to 200. They also had kind of a side stage set up for acoustic. Now, at first, early part of the day, nobody was getting up and playing, and I actually had my acoustic guitar with me, so I went and asked them, you know, can anyone go up and play a set? And they said sure. So, you know, they wanted to get some acoustic acts kind of playing in between the other bands, and so I got up and played a set, and they said that was perfect. You know, the stage is yours the rest of the day. So I ended up playing, you know, something like 3 or 4 sets, and I really had a good time playing as well. So that was a little unexpected. I didn't know that I was gonna be playing at Vulcan Fest, but yeah, so I got to play at the side stage, and that was pretty awesome. If you have any questions or comments regarding this podcast, send an email to comments@daw-music.com. In July, I had the chance to rent a nice Taylor acoustic guitar and decided to record a demo with it. So I was quite impressed and pleased with the results, and so I've decided I'd like to share this demo with you. I might make it available as a free download in my website as well, so just keep checking back. And I hope it's a blessing for you. It's called Open Strings. So I may not have touched on this in the past, but one of the reasons this podcast exists is to promote my business, which is called Red Flame. And Red Flame is currently a recording studio where I do audio production, but I'm looking to expand on our services to include photography and video. In any case, I recently had the chance to chat with one of our clients, so here's my interview with Tatenda Mambo, who's also a singer, songwriter, musician who currently plays in a basically reggae-style band. All right, so I'm sitting down here today with Tatenda Mambo. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, good. He's a reggae artist here in Calgary, Alberta. So first of all, why don't you tell us a little about what it is that you do and describe your music for us?
Well, most of what I play is reggae, but I wouldn't call myself a reggae artist per se.
Okay.
I've only played reggae the last maybe 3-4 years. Before that, I played more mellow kind of folk rock kind of stuff. Tracy Chapman influenced kind of music. So, yeah.
Right. So did you play more of acoustic style before then, or?
Definitely. Definitely. I think the company I was with is what pushed me into reggae. I've always loved reggae, but never really played it because I was always by myself, you know. But when I started hanging out with more people and getting a band together, reggae seemed the logical place to take my music. So
cool.
Yeah.
So has that transition affected the way you approach the music?
Actually, it has. It has. Typically when I write songs, I don't I'm in one genre mode per se. Like I don't switch songs to different genres, you know. So if it comes out kind of folky rock, that's what I keep it. If it comes out bluesy, I keep it bluesy. If I try and switch genres from the original idea of the song into reggae, it never really works very well. So since I started playing with the band, I hear stuff in that offbeat kind of thing, and so yeah, it has definitely changed how I think about the music and how I write now. But
interesting.
Yeah.
What would you say some of your musical influences are?
The biggest one I'll say is Tracy Chapman. I think she's the reason I even play the guitar, because I just love her voice and the kind of melodies that she puts together, and just her playing. It's just
totally.
That singer-songwriter thing really hooked me when I first heard her. And besides that, Bob Marley. I listened to a lot of jazz growing up. Doesn't come through in a lot of the music, I think. I don't know. I do a lot of scatting and weird vocalizing stuff, which is not really singing. I think I get that from the jazz my dad played a lot when I was growing up. But just kind of mix. Coming from Zimbabwe as well, a lot of ethnic stuff we used to listen to growing up. So it's kind of a mishmash of a lot of different things. But
right.
Yeah.
So when you're playing live, do you kind of combine different styles of your performing, like acoustic and electric, or do you just primarily do what the band is?
It depends on the venue. And unfortunately, I would say it also depends on the band.
Yeah.
So, when I play at the house, typically I have a lot of time and a lot of space to fill, so I have a lot of room to explore different kind of genres and different kinds of things. So some stuff I think I sound better on my own without the band. So I feel like I can do more justice to the music that way. So
right.
But it all depends on the venue and how much time I have. So I hate to drag the band on stage and then okay, you guys need to get off stage for this song or not play. So kind of all depends on the situation.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of the house, you were the open mic challenge winner this year at the House Coffee and Sanctuary. You were part of that in previous years as well, right?
No.
Oh no.
I've only been in Calgary since early September of last year. So I've been going to the house to play since I arrived in Calgary, just because I wanted to find a place to play in Calgary, and that's what I found.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat place.
Yeah.
So where were you from previously?
I was in the U.S. the last 9 years.
Okay.
I left Zimbabwe in 2000, so
right.
I was in California for about 5-6 years. Then I moved to Ohio to do a master's degree, and then I moved back to California, and the recession wasn't helping me find a job, so came north to Canada.
So how do you like Canada so far?
I'll be honest. It was not what I expected at all. The Big White North was not. Didn't live up to all the stereotypes I had heard, and I think my expectations of Canada being a lot more green than the U.S. was, at least wasn't true for Calgary. Because I moved to Calgary and lots of urban sprawl, and everyone's in SUVs, and it's just like, this looks kind of like Southern California to me. It's just,
That's true.
That green image I had of Canada doesn't really fit. But slowly, I've been finding my own way here, and it's been good.
That's good.
It's been good, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Calgary music scene so far of what you've seen of it?
A little limited.
Limited.
I think people who are different don't have a lot of room to show that difference, The country western thing, the country rock thing seems pretty heavy.
Very prominent here.
Yeah, very prominent. And I was part of the Folk Fest songwriting contest, and just I made it to the finals, which was a great experience for me. And I went to the finals, and I mean, most of the music sounded the same, country western kind of, and then I feel like I stood out too much, but that might be just me in my own head,
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on social media like Facebook and Twitter, and have they played a part in your music?
Well, I'll say this. I don't listen to much radio at all.
Same here.
Most of the stuff on radio I just can't stomach. It's just, if I'm out at a club having a good time, I'll hear the latest Akon or the latest whatever. But actually YouTube has been very helpful in helping me find new artists who I like and who influence what I do.
Yeah.
So Asha, I love her music, and she influences a lot. I think when I hear her play, I feel inspired to go write, and social media in that context has helped me find new artists, because the mainstream media just isn't doing it for me. I don't feel at all. But in terms of distribution, I mean, I have some of my stuff on YouTube and Facebook, but I don't know if I'm getting as much traction as I would like. But
what has worked for you? Is there some facet of what you do that has really drawn people to your music and what you do, or?
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I really can't. I don't feel like I have been given a fair hearing, and I feel like people who come to listen to my music are mostly friends.
Yeah.
Who really enjoy what I do, and then who tell their friends.
Yeah.
So a bit of word of mouth has helped, but I still feel like I feel I have something good to offer, but I don't feel like I've been given the actual platform to get a fair hearing, So I'm still kind of waiting for that. So I don't know.
I think that's a challenge for a lot of artists, for sure. And there's a lot of talent out there too. But like you said, Calgary kind of has this one-dimensional side to the music scene in a sense. So that kind of plays into it as well. So as an artist, I find it's always difficult to manage daily responsibilities versus creative efforts. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's a struggle. Well, I am a student right now, so that comes first, of course. It's just difficult to invest the amount of time I'd like to in music, And the good thing for me is the music tends to be an outlet for me. So if I've had a hard day at school, I come home and I play the guitar, and it's just release. But then there's a difference between the songwriting, performing side of it and the playing for enjoyment side of it. I feel they're two different areas. So the part of me that plays to release and just center myself again after a very long day is very different from the side of me that plays to practice or to get ready for performance. And that performance side is what competes with my daily with my daily routine and the other priorities I should have.
Right.
But the other side doesn't really compete with it. So if I want to make it as a musician, that's where the real problem lies, is how to balance that performing practice side of it with the school and writing papers side of it, So
It's almost like having another part-time or full-time job, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, the music industry has been changing a lot in the last few years. At least that's what they keep saying. Any thoughts on that?
When you say changing, what do you mean exactly? What?
I guess what we've been seeing is like record shops are going out of business. They're becoming kind of a thing of the dinosaur age. There's fewer and fewer record stores. Artists are taking more control of their music now. Labels are in less control than ever before, and they're still trying to hang on to an old business model that seems to be falling apart. Music has gone from CD sales to digital sales. People are now either buying online or downloading online. Whether it's legal or illegal is another matter, but those would be some of the ways in which it's definitely changed in the last decade or so.
I don't know. It's kind of when I was growing up, the radio was like the standard for music, right? That's where you went for your music.
Yeah.
What it was played on the airwaves. And now I feel there's a lot of stuff out there. There's just, like you said, musicians now have the ability to take things into their own control, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the same point, just as someone who's trying to listen, like there's so much stuff out there that if there is a real like a real rare talent out there and they don't fit the mainstream, you'll never hear them. You know, they may be on YouTube somewhere, but it's harder to find them. And I don't know, it's been good and bad because I think the real talented people don't get the level of like real exposure which they deserve, which maybe hasn't changed from the past, right? If you're too awkward in your in how you like present your art, I think the music industry kind of ignores you because you don't fit into this cookie cutter image thing that they have, you know. So I think it's great, like being able to record what we did with you here was definitely a really good experience, and I think in the past that would be almost impossible to do just because of how expensive it would be. So it's kind of this double-edged sword, you know. Yeah, goes both ways.
Yeah, and you were the Open Mic Challenge winner, and that's how you got to record here, and we've been offering free recording time to our winners, and we've been doing that for the last 2 years. So that's been really cool involvement with the house as Red Flame. So let's talk maybe a little bit more about YouTube. I think it seems like that's also changing the way maybe music is consumed. What do you think about that?
Well, I think two ways. Well, because I think in the 80s, the music video became a big deal, you know, and like you would turn on the TV just to watch music video, you know. Nowadays, I don't do that at all anymore.
Agreed.
And it's not about the music video at all to me anymore, because I think one thing was the song, but if you had a cool video, you could still get people interested in the song because of how great the video was. And with YouTube, I mean, that is still a factor, the actual video, but I'm more able to find stuff based on the music and not the video itself anymore. Like, I don't watch MTV that much anymore, or much. And
same.
Things like that. And I was watching it like 2 days ago, just channel surfing, like, oh, let's see what's on, you know. And I was just like, I don't know, I just was not impressed. But with YouTube, I think as an artist, you still have a platform to, you know, to show your art to the world. And I usually have it in the background, so there's multiple windows open. So I'm focusing more on what I'm hearing than what I'm seeing. Yeah. You know, so it's not about, oh, who's in the new video. No, it's really not about that. It's about, you know, how good is the song that they made, kind of thing. So
definitely. And I guess the other facet of it has allowed people to kind of post video logs or just, you know, their day-to-day life, which for whatever reason people are still interested in seeing if you're a musician. So I guess it appears glamorous from the outside, right?
Huh, yeah. I don't
know. So as far as your long-term goals are concerned, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to accomplish with music?
It may sound corny, but I'd like to be on cue. If I can be on cue in the next 5 years, I think I would say that I was successful.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think music as a career is a difficult thing, and it can be a lot of pressure too, and that sometimes can stifle creativity. At least that's what I find. So when you kind of relieve music from having all that pressure, you can just enjoy it for what it is, and that's what people are going to be drawn to, is when you're enjoying yourself to a large degree, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to check out your music, do you have a website or MySpace or something?
I have music on Facebook.
Okay.
I have a MySpace page which needs to be updated a little, but it's myspace.com/Mambo Vibrations,
Okay.
which is the name of the band.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so I'll try to get that in the show notes so you, all our listeners out there can click on a link and check it out. Thanks a lot for joining me today.
No problem.
It's
It was great.
Pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. You just heard my interview with Tatenda Mambo, and he was gracious enough to stick around and do a bit of an interview after picking up his master, and I think he's pretty happy with the results of what we did here at Red Flame. So if you'd like to learn more about us, currently there's a website at redflamerecords.com, but I'm working on a new website. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier, I want to include not just audio production like podcasting and music, but also include photography and video as well in the future. So I don't know exactly what the new address is going to be. I think we'll probably get a new domain, maybe something like Red Flame Audio Visual. But for now, you can check out redflamerecords.com. Eventually we'll get a blog going and all that kind of stuff as well. Of course, the other reason the podcast exists is to promote my music. So as always, make sure to check out www.daw-music.com. And I mentioned earlier about upcoming shows. So if you want to keep track of those, make sure to go to the website and check often. Sometimes I do post stuff in Facebook as well, but I don't always remember to. So make sure to check back. And don't forget to become a fan and quote-unquote like the podcast as well. So if you go to Facebook and look up David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, you should be able to find it. You may even be able to find it if you search for Interviews and Music Business Podcast. Seeing as how I have a bit of a presence on Facebook, searching for David Andrew Wiebe might not yield the result right away, or may not be the top result. But that could work too, so maybe search for David Andrew Wiebe. So another thing that I figured out recently is that I don't necessarily have to have guests in for the entire podcast. Although that is fun, I can actually start stockpiling interviews with different people. So that's what I've been trying to do as well, is invite a bunch of people in and start just recording interviews with them. So we have more of those stockpiled up, so I don't have to go looking for someone every month. Although, we'll see if that works, because so far it hasn't actually. I haven't actually been able to interview more people in the span of a month, but we'll see. I'm hoping that we can start getting ahead of things, so to speak, and have more interviews lined up, so we don't have kind of a dead month. So that basically brings us to the close of another podcast episode. Seems like I might be forgetting something, but I can't think offhand what that might be. So hopefully I covered most things, and if not, I'll cover everything else in more detail in future episodes. So thanks again for listening.
This podcast is a part of the Blueberry Network. You can find this and other great podcasts at blueberry.com. That's blueberry with no e's.com.
You've been listening to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, broadcasting from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.